Well, I'm Tessa with Screen Rant. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I'm glad it worked out.
Hey, Tessa. Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, this movie as a parent was a lot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk to you about that. Are you a parent yourself? And if so,
I am a parent, and yes, I have two kids, and for sure it was a lot. And part of, in some ways, a little bit of the inspiration in that I had never had any experience, thank God, anywhere near this. But I did have something when my son was young and accidentally playing with him, and I fooling around, he fractured his arm, and I was playing with him during this time, and he was just like 5 years old or something. Nothing intentional, of course, but it was. I just remember the feeling dizzy and feeling, once I realized he was actually injured and kind of on my watch with me playing with him, I almost fainted. I was literally like devastated, and it was a bit of an inspiration and thought that I wanted to find, like, how do you recover from something as devastating as this? And I feel like by suppressing the guilt, suppressing the feelings and the idea of it, all it does is burble up into something else. I don't think it's possible. And you just need to learn to kind of understand and forgive yourself. Sometimes there's things aren't always intentional, and we're all just human and trying to get through this this world the best we can. But yes, it is a very intense experience, I find, from everybody, especially parents who have viewed this.
Yeah, I always say, like, it's like my kids are like, my heart is like walking around outside my body.
Completely. Yeah, it is. It is like that. And so it just kind of, I don't know how you would cope with this and deal with this, but it was definitely something that I felt, partly I wanted to tell. I wanted to give my shot at putting it out.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's so well done. Like, I was, it's very suspenseful, emotional. Like, there's a lot in here. It's heavy.
Right. Yeah. It is. And I even though it is intense, I hope there's a little bit of support or hope, kind of in some some way, depending on how you feel about it at the end. And I really feel like in my career I've directed some. I've produced some very intense films to begin with, and I was hoping to do something like that in my directorial debut. That is it's a much different experience to direct something than it is producing it. There's a more emotional vulnerability as the director of it than there is as the producer of it. It's much more visceral in some ways. So you do put your heart into it, and you're in a different way. And I just felt like this was a great transition into directing for me to do this. I was hopeful that I could tell the story in a dramatic way, playing a little bit with some of the genre elements, but this, it's not a horror film, but there is a thriller and genre element to it. But at the core, I think, performances were really key as well with this, and especially Connie. She was so vulnerable and subtle and refined in how she did this, and I think that's kind of pivotal to the character and how it needs to be. She's on the outside a facade that has buried all this and kept this strong, independent, single mother. But hopefully we see some of these cracks when she's in quieter places, in the bedroom or in her bathroom, or a little bit of vulnerability, until we start to unravel what has actually happened and the mystery behind it.
Yeah, I love her in this. I think she's because she takes the audience on the journey with her. You know what I mean? And she's our like eyes and ears and person in this story. And she does such a great job, like very subtle little moments here and there, until I was blown away at the end. I was completely shook. Okay. I did not see that coming. I was like, wait, what? Hold on. I was like, I'm crying. I was like, what's happening?
I know. Oh, good, good. It was such a, especially for my first film, it was definitely a big bite and undertaking that I took on, and there was not a huge. This was not a big budget. This was not a long schedule, and so I did have to kind of get creative and pack things into this time. But I'm really happy with how that ended. I wanted the audience to have a visceral feeling. It might be intense and it might be bringing out tears, but I wanted, when I go to the movies, I want to have an emotional experience one way or another. And so I was really, trying to accommodate that, make that happen in my film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do such a great job. Do you think, being a producer, do you think you brought a lot and that helped a lot, especially with a time crunch like this?
I 1,000%. I feel like, I started my career thinking I wanted to be an actor when I was like right out of school. And in some ways, I say I kind of stumbled into producing. I don't know that I was the best actor, and I stumbled into producing, but I produced for like amazing actor directors. Like Billy Bob Thornton was an actor director. Al Pacino I produced for, who was an actor director of this movie Chinese Coffee. John Turturro. There's a lot of actor directors that I produced for, and I was given this almost film school from a very young age in my early 20s of producing for these iconic people. And I think it really informed a lot of what I was doing and how I wanted to do it. So there was a transition happening, I think, and I think it probably stems a little bit from wanting to, my passion and love for actors and being an actor, that going into working with these actor directors and then auteur filmmakers for the rest of my career, that I made sense. I wanted to direct and do what I've just achieved here. But the years of experience producing creatively, figuring out how to make the story work, and having 25 days to shoot something so immense with cars and emotionality was intense. And I also did it in a foreign country with myself and Connie as the only American English as the first language speaking people. The rest were all foreigners. So there was a definite intensity. And I, with the help of Connie and my actors, was able to, pivot and rethink things on the fly and in the moment that I don't necessarily believe the first time filmmakers that I've worked with, at least, have that ability, at least in their first film. It came from 20 years of experience on major movies with major talent to accomplish all that. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot. And before we wrap, I want to talk to you. It's so hard because I wouldn't say it's spoilery, but there's almost a dream sequence-esque thing towards the end, if you know where I'm talking about. Can you just talk about whatever you can talk about with shooting that? Because that was beautiful.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It was something that initially we had was scripted, taking place all underwater. And so part of it was my rethinking that it wasn't going to, the emotionality of what I needed to tell in that place just didn't feel like it would make sense, or I could do it the same justice. And I also realized, with a 25-day schedule, you just don't have the time to do all this underwater tank work that we even did do. So that was conceived with many conversations with my DP and my production designer and myself of figuring out what do we do, how can we achieve this in a way, and that's where it created this world of this netherworld, basically, of this vastness and put it together that way, and that enabled me to I think let the actors perform. And especially, Connie and her daughter and all of that was just very intense and emotional for all of us at the time. And there were times, again, not to give I don't want to spoil anything, but there were times in Connie's performance that I thought were so real that I got scared. And I'm by the monitor and I'm watching everything. And I was nervous just for everything was still totally safe. But she did such a brilliant performance that I had tears in my eyes and was even calling cut maybe a second too soon because I was petrified that, oh my God, am I killing her? What the hell? Everything was fine, everything was safe, and there was nothing in danger. But her performance was that good that I was really concerned that she might be in danger. So
yeah, well, she's incredible. Like I said, really, I really, really enjoyed this movie. So congratulations, and thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Can talk forever about it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert.
Rob, what are you doing? Can you stop that, please?